Find myself in times of trouble. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Look up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, oh, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, oh, let it be, oh, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to No More Heroin Survivor Series Live. Tonight, our guest is from Chicagoland, the one, the only, Jam Alker. Nice to have you here, my brother. The Survivor Series is geared to promoting success stories in recovery, and you are an amazing testimony.
You are amazing, Robin Higginbotham.
We are amazing.
It's a we thing.
It is a we thing. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being my friend. Thank you for riding with me through my ups and my downs. And it's great to be here in this moment with you.
Yes, it is. It's great to be here with you. I love you. I'm happy to be on this ride with you as well, man. You look great. You look beautiful. You look strong. You look like a mountain man.
I am a mountain man today.
Yes.
The Climb for Recovery event was a success. With my brothers and I, we made it. We made it up and down, and here we are. We are walking, talking, living, breathing testimonies of what recovery can be. And again, thank you for being here. So I've been posting these different memes on Facebook.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I have.
It kind of became a thing.
Yeah, the Jam Elfer. the Jamagram.
Yes.
So explain to everybody how that came about.
Absolutely, and you'll have to excuse me if I have to occasionally, as we came on to do our little pre-production, like 2 seconds before that, I was eating a granola bar and I breathed in a piece of peanut down into my lung, which is never a good look for anybody.
Right.
I also want to, before we get into the Jam on the Shelf, Jam Alpha stuff, I just wanted to note that I'm working with the hat, the craziest, stupidest, biggest Willy Wonka sunglasses that I have, and fancy water. I figured I would do the trifecta. I would do all of the shit at once that people give me crap for on Facebook. I figured I would just come hard with it all, so y'all can love on me right now with the fancy water.
Let's see some hearts.
Big bug eye glasses.
Thumbs up, y'all. I gotta start liking this. Thanks everybody for being here. Please, you guys, share this out. Share this out. I've asked Jam to jump on here and share, his testimony, his experience, his strength, and his hope. We're going to talk about where he's been, where he's going, and what's on the horizon for Jam Alker. And if we're lucky, he's going to play a few more songs for us there at the end. He's got an amazing testimony. I've been, a guest in your home on a couple of occasions, and I tell everybody when I'm there in their home that I never take that lightly, because that's something that never used to happen when I was in my addiction. Right. I was not welcome anywhere. So when I'm asked to show up, I do my very best to show up, and I'm full of gratitude for our friendship and the things that you've helped me through.
I appreciate that, my brother. I'm gonna take these off now. come back to the real world.
Come on back, buddy.
No, man, I appreciate our friendship. I love you. I'm proud to have you as a friend, and you are always welcome in my home.
Thank you.
So, what's up, Bradley? So, to answer your question from earlier of how the jam Alfer or the jam on the shelf thing started, I was on M2 the Rock Radio last week. I went last week Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday, and Michael's producer was looking at one of my pictures on Facebook. She's like, "You should change that picture. You look like an elf." And she was just kind of joking around, and I just kind of took it to the next level. So when we went live on Facebook and on air, I was pretending to be hurt by the fact that she called me an elf. And I think then you said that it should be a meme, or somebody did, and then you said it should be a meme, and then the rest was Higstery, right? Higgy history. The rest is Higstery. Jam on the Shelf became a thing, and then everybody's messaging me, "Why didn't you make one for me?" I'm like, "Bro, you got to talk to Higgy. Lady, you got to talk to Higgy. He is the mastermind behind this entire bit of shenanigans." Yeah, look at you. You're so proud right now. That laugh was a laugh.
The amount of requests that I've got. How do I get a jam on the shelf? Hook me up. So
it was so funny when you told me that Joe wanted one, and then all of a sudden Joe Nestor's got one of me riding around on his bike. That was great.
Right, Rem wanted one. You know,
Aaron wanted
one. There's a lot of people. I got you. I put you on. I put you on somebody's horse.
Yep.
There's you're in a lot of people's selfies.
I'm shooting out of Aaron's gun. But the winner, did you do Ember's or did Ember do her own?
Ember did that herself. Yeah, she gets full credit for that. Very creative.
That was real good. Yeah. So yeah, Ember shooting me out of her ass. That was pretty amazing.
We have an amazing core network of people.
We do.
We always show up and support each other whenever possible. And
absolutely,
that's something we can never take for granted.
For sure.
So let's get into this. Tell us what it was like, you know, when you were in your addiction and how you came to the breaking point.
Sure. So again, excuse me for clearing my throat here so much. So, you know, I grew up in a family with a lot of violence. Had a pretty rough childhood. You know, I say that one of my first memories in life is my dad walking towards me wide-eyed with blood pouring down his face. I have another memory that I can place chronologically directly before that one, and that is a memory of my mom breaking a whiskey bottle over the top of his head to stop his violent advances. So there's a lot of violence in my childhood, and there was a lot of upheaval. I went to 15 different schools growing up. I've never, to this day, lived in one place for more than 3 years. There were years where I went to 3 or 4 different schools. So I had a lot of pain and trauma growing up. And what I've learned in my recovery is that underlying all true addiction is trauma. Right, so there's this great doctor named Gabor Mate, and he says, "Don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain." And I hear that, and it's like, oh man, yeah, that really resonates with me. So I had this pain and this trauma growing up for a number of different reasons, and then I numbed myself to that pain. Again, you have to excuse me, that peanut is still working its way out of my
esophagus,
out of my lungs. But you know, I decided that when I left high school that I was going to be a musician. I was going to try to be a successful musician. I was going to try to be a rock star. And I moved to the city. I started a band. And we had some success. Did some touring. I played in front of a lot of, thousands of screaming fans. I, was on the radio. I did all the stuff. And then so with that lifestyle, comes a lot of partying. People just hand you things, right? You come off stage and people hand you a drink. People hand you drugs. In many ways, you're handed women, just to put it bluntly, or they allow you the opportunity to live that lifestyle that is really all of the addictions, right? All of the different forms of distraction, all of the different forms of numbing, all of the different forms of sedating myself to whatever was going on underneath that I had no way to deal with, no idea, no coping skills, no mechanisms of how to deal with all that pain. But, oftentimes you don't come to the head with your addictions until there are dire consequences. And living that lifestyle, the consequences weren't as dire as maybe in some other situations. And I hadn't found my drug of choice that brought me to my knees just yet, which was heroin. So all the drinking, all the cocaine, all of the ecstasy, all of the hallucinogenics, the weed, all the rest of that stuff, I was able to maintain in a way in which I was able to still be productive enough that I could make enough money for myself or for other people that I could continue living the lifestyle I was living. So the consequences weren't great enough for me to stop, but I still had that underlying pain, that underlying trauma that I had no way of dealing with. And regardless of all the success I had, regardless of all the money I had, I was still fucking miserable. I was miserable inside. I was dead inside. I had that thing inside that you hear so many people refer to when they're talking about their story, that hole inside of them. And I didn't have any way to fill it. And I didn't know how to cope with the pain. And then I found heroin. I found opiates. And we know that opiates are not only physical painkillers, opiates are emotional painkillers. And so that pain hadn't gone away. I had learned to deal with the pain, but I had this drug that numbed me to that pain sufficiently that I could continue with the lifestyle that I was living. And it worked. It worked until it didn't, as we know this stuff goes. That's right. So, eventually I had a $300 to $500 a day habit. And I was making quite a bit of money, but it wasn't enough. And I began to lose everything. Relationships, but money, property. I had a recording studio. I began pawning off the equipment in my recording studio to feed my habit. I had a record label that went to shit. I ended up losing all the real significant things in my life, and the consequences eventually became great enough that I had to make some kind of a change. So that's really the start of things and the first sort of moment of clarity. But it wasn't a final moment of clarity, because at that point I knew that I needed some sort of help. I went to my doctor, told him what was going on. He told me I needed to go to treatment. I was like, doctor, I appreciate that, but I'm not one of those people.
Right.
I can figure this out on my own. I appreciate that you care about me and that you're worried about me, but I really need to get everybody off my back, and I just need to be able to get this shit under control, right? So he's like, listen, Jam, will you at least please go to some meetings for me? So to appease him and other people in my life, I decided to start going to a couple of meetings. I went to a meeting, decided I wasn't like any of the people there, found all the differences rather than the similarities. Meeting ended. I convinced myself I wasn't one of those people. I left and went back out for the worst 7 years of my life. Wow. This 7 years was not nearly as successful as it had been before. It was full of pain, misery, getting by, doing things that I'm not proud of in order to be able to get just one more. And then what was, I won't even say my bottom, because I certainly could have continued to drop further, but the moment of clarity for me is when I knew that I was going to have a daughter. And I was, again, still not understanding the disease of addiction. I thought, great, I have a kid. I'm definitely going to stop. There's no way I'm going to be a junkie once I have a child. That's going to be the thing. That's the line in the sand that I'm definitely not going to cross. My child was born, and less than 3 weeks later, I was back on the west side of Chicago buying dope. It was then that I realized there were no more lines in the sand to draw, that there were no more external things that were going to be the thing that would get me to stop. So I went back to that same doctor that I had been to 7 years prior. He said treatment. I said, Doc, you know me. That's not my thing. I don't do treatment. I'm not one of those guys. I'm super smart. I'm super talented. I'm super successful. There's got to be an easier way for me. I'm not doing treatment. So he sends me to a therapist who's also an addiction specialist who's got 6 years of recovery. And I'm still getting high when I go to see him. And he tells me that I need to go to treatment. He slowly breaks me down. And I say, you know, I can't. I've got this going on. I've got that. I've got every excuse in the book. You've heard them all. I've heard them all.
Yes.
I've got a job. I've got a family. I've got a fucking dog. I've got, you know, bills to pay, whatever bullshit you need to say. And he slowly broke me down through time. And we came up with a plan. I had a piece of property that I needed to sell because once that was sold, I would be able to quit my job and be able to set up a business when I came back. I'd be set up with this. Everything would be in place. Still fix, manage, control under the illusion that I am in control.
The illusion.
Finally, all that stuff happened. This took another 18 months from that moment of clarity. And I know this, my daughter was 20 months old when I finally went to treatment. And that was when I finally gave in, surrendered, unconditional surrender, dropping to my knees. I'm done. I don't have the answers anymore. I'm going to leave it up to the adults to tell me what to do because I clearly can't figure this out on my own. And that's how the whole thing started.
I remember you telling me about that moment in your car when you were banging on the steering wheel.
Yes. Yes.
Not wanting to get high, but not knowing how not to.
I had no idea how to live. I had no idea how to be in society. I had no idea how to create relationships. I had no idea how to make money. I had no idea how to be without being high. So I had that 2 weeks off after my daughter was born. But the next week I had to go back to the bullshit job that I had at the time. And I went and I sat at my desk and I wanted to jump out the fucking window. I had no idea how to be a human being without being high. It's like, no, you cannot do this. You cannot. You promised yourself. I lasted another 3 days at that job. The fourth day I went back. I went out to my car. I don't know how to do this. Sat there screaming, crying, punching the steering wheel for hours, fighting against myself. And then that voice came up. Hey, you've got this kid now. You can't lose this job. You can't do this job unless you're high. We got to go get high. And I gave in, went to the west side, but that's when I knew I was done. So that if I have a bottom, that was my bottom.
That was your defining moment right there.
It was my moment of clarity, correct.
When your ability and your love for music is very, very, people can see that. The way you express yourself in your music, how do you draw on your past experiences to put them into lyrics and put music to it? What does your process look like?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and I wish I had a good answer for it. I don't know, honestly. So what I do know is where I left off in the story was when I went to treatment, and I brought this guitar with me that I still play when I went to treatment, having not played music for all of the years that I was in that really, really dark place, a good decade where I hadn't really picked up the guitar at all, but I brought it with me when I went to treatment, and two things happened. So one thing, I decided that I wasn't going to get high anymore, but that meant I was going to have to feel all those feelings, that trauma, that stuff that Gabor Mate talks about. That was going to come up, right? I was going to have to reach into that darkness. I was going to have to sit face to face with those demons. I was going to have to deal with all of that. But I wasn't going to get high anymore. I had to figure out a way to deal with that, how to process it. And what I did is I picked up the guitar as a form of therapy, and I began writing about those things that I was feeling. That darkness, those demons, I just started to write about it. And I didn't think for a fucking second that anyone was going to hear any of this. Well, that's when I wrote Fixing the Wrong Fix, was in that moment. I didn't think it was going to be a thing where I'd come on your show and you'd be like, you got to play Fixing the Wrong Fix at the end. I just wrote it because that's what I needed in that moment. Weather the storm, that's what I needed in that moment. Please, that's what I needed in that moment. But there was another significant part to it other than it being my own personal therapy. I was told when I went to treatment that I needed to open up to a power greater than myself, that a part of this healing process was some sort of vital spiritual experience. And like I said, I was ready to do anything, right? They told me to go clean the toilets. I would have went and cleaned the toilets because I don't want to live like that anymore. So I opened up to this power greater than myself. And the power manifested to me through music. So this thing, when I sit down in that therapeutic state, writing, thinking about the experiences, putting it on paper, when I was sitting there in treatment doing this, and I say it, and I've said it a million times. I feel like an old radio that was finally tuned into that right frequency, and the music just started to play through me. Right? There's music around us at all times. We need that radio to finally tune into that right frequency, and that spiritual experience happened, and that thing that is the God of my understanding came to me through music. So oftentimes when I'm in that place, when I'm doing it right, I don't even know where it's coming from, to be honest with you, other than from the creative source. Whatever that creative source, whatever word you want to put behind it, I don't care. But when I'm there, when I'm in tune with that music just flows, and it's authentic and it's true and it's what matters to me, ends up connecting with others because they know it comes from that place. So that, if I have a process, that's what it is, but I don't fucking know.
It works. It's very, very obvious that you have gifts and ability, and you're using them to the best of your ability, and you're touching people around the world with your music, and I want people to see my little sticker here.
Yeah.
Sophrosine. What does that represent?
What does what represent?
Sophrosine, the dragonfly.
Look at you saying the word sophrosine. So I spoke this morning in front of 600 middle school kids.
Yeah, let's go.
And the principal was dead set on saying the name of my album. He practiced it like 10 times before he went up there, and he still just murdered it. He just didn't come even anywhere close to saying the right name. So sophrosine is a Greek word. It's actually properly pronounced sophrosine. So sophrosine is the proper pronunciation, but I've always said sophrosine. It is a Greek word that means peace, serenity, equanimity through right action. And I saw that early in my recovery, and I was like, that's it right there. That's great. If I ever make an album, which I don't know if I will, but if I ever do, that's what I want to call it. And I knew I needed a symbol. And dragonflies, first of all, dragonflies have been on this planet for over 300 million years. So they represent resiliency. They represent making it through the difficulties that come at you. So that's one thing they represent. But spiritually, dragonflies represent rebirth, which I just thought was also really symbolic of my journey, and really all of our journeys as far as what we go through in our addictions and in our recovery.
Absolutely. For me, it's the phoenix. For you, it's the dragonfly. Yep. It's the same concept.
Exactly.
Rebirth from the absolute devastation and crumbling of our world. We rise, we fly, and we recreate ourselves into something better.
Boom, Higgy, boom. That's what's up.
I love your energy tonight, for real. I love it. Too.
Maybe that peanut did something to me. I don't know. Yeah, I'm on fire tonight, Hickster. I think it was the glasses. I think it was starting with the glasses. I'm fire tonight. Yeah. What you think of that, Tim Ryan?
Those glasses are obscene.
Get a screenshot of this for Tim Ryan. Suck it, Ryan. How you like me now? How you like me now, Tim Ryan? Suck it.
Suck it.
Sorry.
I will go back and get a screenshot of that. I put the screen on you only, solamente for that.
That's right.
So tell me, how was that experience today with speaking to the kids in the school? You and Jonathan, right?
Yeah. So I have this whole presentation that I do for high school and middle school kids. It's like a slideshow. I don't go in there and say, hey, kids, say no to drugs, because that message doesn't work. What I do is I go in there and I'm going to tell them the truth. I say, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to talk down to you. I'm not going to lie to you. So you hear, and I have them say, finish the sentence for me. If I do drugs, they go, die. Say, finish the sentence for me. I know the drugs are, and they'll say, bad. And I say, and if you do drugs, you will. And they say, die. And I say, and if you die, that is. And they say, bad. Like, right. So this is what you've heard, right? Drugs are bad. You do them, you'll die. But you see people all the time in movies, music videos, social media, everywhere, using drugs and alcohol, and they're not dead. Their lives have not been ruined. They're not in jail. So you hear one thing, but you see something completely different. So what's the truth? And I'm like, I'm going to tell you the truth here today. And I lay it out, and the bottom line it comes down to is that the younger you are, when you begin experimenting with drugs and alcohol, the more likely you are to become addicted. The younger you are when you begin experimenting with drugs and alcohol, the more likely you are to become addicted. And once you become addicted, everything changes. I do a piece on vaping, Mr. Vapor over there, because the kids think that shit is safe, and it's not safe. I do this piece that's the top 5 most awesome things about vaping, which of course includes popcorn lung, metal particles in the vape smoke. Vapors are 4 times more likely to become cigarette smokers. Vape juice has embalming fluid and formaldehyde in it. And the number 1 most awesome thing about vaping, congratulations, you are now addicted. So I do this whole thing with them, and in the middle, I want there to be a significant story. So I had Jonathan come out and tell his story, which is amazing. Dude's been shot 4 times as a result of drug and alcohol abuse, stabbed 3 times, has been dead twice. So I get him to come up there, and I had him tell a story in the middle of my presentation, and it was great. The kids loved it. The kids were very engaged. They didn't feel like they were talked down to. They didn't feel like they were being told, don't do this and don't do that. I'm not trying to tell you what right from wrong. You guys already know right from wrong. You can give me every answer you want me to hear or every answer you don't want me to hear. What I'm here to tell you is why it matters. Why it matters to make the right decision. Why it matters to make healthy choices rather than going for the quick fix of drugs and alcohol. Because 10% of the population are drug addicts. There's 600 kids there, right? So I say, who's good at math? You. What's 10% of 600? Which is funny, right? Because that's obvious. It's 60. So the kid goes, 60. I'm like, all right, so according to statistics, 60 of you guys are addicts. So raise your hand. Which 60 of you guys are the addicts? 10% of the world population. Of course, none of them raise their hand. Look around. Well, come on, 60 of you are. Which 60? All right, so at this age right now, how do you know? How do you know which 60 of you are the addicts? They sit there in silence, and I say, you don't know. You don't know until it's too late. And I just told you, the younger you are when you start experimenting with drugs and alcohol, the more likely you are to become addicted. So how do you keep from being one of those 60? You make good choices. You choose healthy coping skills over the quick fix of using drugs and alcohol at your age.
That's powerful. Good stuff.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man. So that's what I do at high schools and middle schools, and it's going really well. CBS News came out there today and filmed an interview. Cool. So yeah, it was a good day, but I had to get up at 5 a.m., which is bullshit.
It's so not like you.
I hate that.
So
yeah, that's what I did today. It's great. I'll say this, right? Talk about playing on stage in front of thousands of screaming fans, signing autographs, making albums, right? Doing all the stuff, making a ton of money. I was still fucking dead inside and miserable inside. There is nothing that has ever filled me spiritually as much as that feeling when I walked out of that school today. When I walked out of there knowing that I made a difference in those 600 kids' lives, and that I made a difference that at least a few of them are going to think twice or maybe wait. That is that thing that I search for in money, in drugs, in girls, in fame. That thing I search everywhere for. Where I get that is helping someone who has no way of helping me in return. And that's what recovery is about. It's a beautiful fucking thing, man.
It is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. So I want to bring up this picture. It is on the wall in your studio. Now on my screen it is really small, but can you read that?
I can, but I don't even need to look at it to read it. This is a wonderful quote by the beautiful woman Cynthia Ocelli. It is, for a seed to reach its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, the insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction.
So powerful. That stood out to me when I visited and we've spent some time in your studio. What does that mean to you?
Sure. I mean, it's my favorite quote. So it really, to me, it speaks of perspective. It speaks of acceptance and But mostly it speaks to me in terms of coming to terms with the wreckage of my past. So I make a choice when I look at a seed come apart. I make a choice whether or not that to me is destruction or whether or not that is growth in order for the seed to reach its greatest expression, which is a flower or a tree or whatever the seed is going to be, right? The process is unchanged. What happens is unchanged. But my perspective on life changes depending upon how I look at it. My experiences, my reality is based on my perspective. If I change my perspective, my reality literally changes. So I apply that to my recovery. All of those things that happened, all of the relapses, all the trips to the West Side, all of the misery, everything that I went through, I used to look at that as destruction, utter destruction. But today, I look at that as necessary growth for me to reach my greatest expression. Right? I couldn't do it. I couldn't have sat in front of those 600 kids today and had that conversation with them. I couldn't have this conversation with you. I couldn't have written the songs that I've written had I not gone through all of those experiences. Those were necessary growth experiences for me to reach my greatest expression.
Absolutely. That's perfect. That's spot on. Now, when I was there with you over the weekend, this past winter, when the blizzard of Chicago rolled in on us, when Matt and the boys from the Wilcox Project were there, and we
Yes, sir.
went on the road. I want to thank you for inviting me to do that with you. I was coming back from relapse, and you invited me to be a part of something that I really enjoy doing the taking pictures, doing the video work, hanging out, and just being a part of something means a lot to me. And at that point, I was searching for explanations because once again, I had found myself in a position that I didn't want to be in, coming back from a relapse. I didn't want to relapse, but it happened. And I made that public. And I asked you about your spirituality because I felt so disconnected from everybody, from God, from everything that I was trying to do in my life. I was disconnected. And I asked you about your spirituality, and you explained that you lived your life by more or less a Buddhist principle, and that you felt that the root of all pain is attachment, the attachment to the pain, and that it's okay to detach from that pain. It doesn't mean you don't feel it. It means that you do not let it govern your life. Can you elaborate on that and how you've applied that principle in your recovery?
You're doing a pretty damn good job there, Higgy, of explaining it yourself. Yeah, so I like to study religion and philosophy, and really Buddhism is much more of a philosophy or a way of life than it is a religion. But I started a meditation practice when I got into recovery pretty seriously, and so I started learning about Buddhism, and it was something that resonated strongly with me. And so yeah, the Buddha's first noble truth that he came to while sitting under the tree was that attachment is the root of all suffering. And what is addiction if not attachment? And it goes beyond that to really all forms of addiction. So that's just to place it in the lens of addiction, but really the idea of attachment in general and it being the root of all suffering. So if I think about that, it makes so much sense to me. And it can be attachment to something beautiful, or it can be attachment to something bad or destructive, because all phenomenon are temporary. All things come and go, right? So if we attach to anything, good or bad, that thing is eventually going to go away. It is eventually going to change, and therefore we are going to suffer as a result of it. So if we're having a beautiful experience and we attach to it, that experience goes away. That is going to create suffering. Right? If there's a bad experience that is going on and we attach to that as, oh, this is the way it's going to be, this is how it is, this is horrible, we're also going to feel suffering as a result of that. So, and I don't even like to say detachment, I like to say non-attachment, because I think that what that says is that you experience things, like you said, pain, but also joy and every other emotion. You experience these things, but you don't attach to them. You allow them to come and go as temporary phenomenon as they are. So if you attach yourself, so happiness as well as anything else is constantly going up and down. So if you attach your happiness to any of these external phenomenon that are constantly going up and down, your happiness is going to constantly be going up and down, and you're going to be on a roller coaster. So you experience beautiful things as well as tragic things, but you don't attach to them and you don't attach to the results. You experience them, you allow them to happen. So in your instance, what you were talking about, all of that pain, you're not trying to push it away, but you're also not trying to hold on to it. You're allowing it to happen. You're allowing it to occur for what it is without becoming it. You don't become the pain. You don't become the misery, but you also don't become the happiness. You don't become the sorrow. You don't become the jealousy. You don't become the envy. You allow these experiences to occur in space and move on in space. So detachment, it's not, oh, I don't give a shit about anything. It's just not allowing these things to govern you, or becoming these things. Any material thing, whether it's, clothing or a car or a house or status or any of these other emotions that come and go. It applies to all of these things. So when you understand that attachment is the root of all suffering, and my desire is to be happy and free from suffering, which is another thing that I learned very early on in my meditation practice. Say, I wish to be happy and free from suffering, particularly freedom from suffering, because happiness is such a sort of ethereal thing. Like, what is happiness? Is it jumping around and dancing? Is it just sitting there feeling somewhat joyful? I don't know what happy is, but I know what freedom from suffering is. And I want freedom from suffering. So when I was told that attachment is the root of all suffering, well, I do not want to attach. And so I did my own experiments rather than just listening and say, okay, that's how it is. I began to experiment with those things. And I started to practice non attachment. And I started to appreciate the idea of impermanence, that all things come and all things go. And I can appreciate them in the moment without attaching them to them, because I know that if I attach, it will go away and that will create suffering. And as I continue to practice this and make this a part of my meditation practice and part of my practice throughout my life, I noticed that things began to become significantly better. And I didn't have that pain that contributed to me wanting to go out and numb myself. I learned this is one of my key tools in my recovery, how to not have that pain, that suffering attached to that trauma that led to the numbing behaviors, which for me were heroin. Understanding that this is something, oh, this thing comes up, fuck, I got to go out and get high, this is horrible. No, this is just a feeling. It is providing me with information. I will sit with this feeling knowing that it is impermanent. It will come and go. I will not attach to it. I will take the information that I need from it, and I will let it go when I'm done with it, or when it is done with me. And holy shit, you do it and it works, but you don't do it once. It's like walking into a gym and saying, I'm gonna lift 300 pounds. Oh, I can't lift it. Fuck it. I'm not coming back to a gym. I can't do it. No, you have to do reps. And that's what meditation is. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual repetitions to work towards freedom from suffering.
Woo! That's good. Good job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I felt that.
Cool.
So in turning your pain into purpose, you were talking about writing songs and detox. But before we get into your music, let's talk about your projects. You have a new position with organization. Please elaborate and fill people in on what you're doing, what's coming up, where you're going to be, and then we'll get into the music.
I appreciate it, bro. You are a true professional over there. I would have forgotten all this stuff. You're getting it in over there. I appreciate you, man. So I recently came on board with Recovery Unplugged, which is a treatment center that uses music as a way to help people in their recovery. I'm doing a lot of different work with them. I'm doing some outreach work. I'm doing some advocacy work. I'm also going to be helping to create concerts in the future. We're going to start doing large concerts with some major acts to be able to try to help raise money for people who could benefit from music-based treatment but don't have the resources, don't have the right insurance, or maybe don't even have insurance. So we're trying to do what we can to start doing some concerts to raise money for providing the opportunity for people to come to treatment who could use it, who couldn't get it otherwise. So these are the things that I'm doing. I love Recovery Unplugged. I'm super happy to be a part of the organization. I believe in what they're doing clinically. Amazing staff, amazing locations. We have one in Florida. We have one in Austin, Texas. We have one in Virginia, just outside of DC. We just broke ground on one in Nashville, and we're in the process of opening one in Plano, which is just outside of Dallas. So we're growing. We have an amazing staff. You know, Blake just came on board. There are some other heavy hitters who are about to come on board. So I'm really excited to be a part of Recovery Unplugged. If anybody wants to know more about Recovery Unplugged, you can reach me through Jam Alker Music or my page, Jam Alker, the Jam, my public page. Or if you're friends with me on Facebook, message me there. Or if none of those things, you can reach me at jamalker.com.
Well done. So how many pages do you have now?
I have my personal page. I have a public figure page, so I can have more than 5,000 people hanging out with me. And then just Jam Alker Music. So it's Jam Alker Music. It's Jam, which is the public page. And then there's Jam Alker and Jam Alker 2. Yeah, right. But I don't, well, we're not talking about that. Yeah, so you're right. So I have 4 pages currently. That won't always be the case, but that's what I have now. Yeah. And so that's what's going on. As far as what I have coming up, I know you have a flyer for an event that is going to be happening in a few weeks in Maryland that I'm super excited. I actually got together with Jade and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in the area anyway. Let's do an event. Let's do something to raise some money, right? Using this gift that was given to me as a way to be able to give back, I try whenever I can to set up these benefits. You know, you've been here in town when I've done a benefit in the past. I try to do what I can. So this is going to be a benefit for Fort Recovery. I talked to Jade. She set the thing up. She's like, yo, can you talk to your friends in Cloud Gang? I was like, I'd definitely be interested in having B Rain come out, but I don't know about Rem. I don't know about Rem. Do I really have to include Rem? He's kind of a jerk, and he wears dumb clothes, and he drinks fancy water. No, I group messaged B Rain and Rem. Rem got back to me right away, said he was in. I was like, really? Are you sure you want to do this? I think you should maybe reconsider. But Rem was in, so I didn't have a choice at that point. And then finally B Rain said, yeah, I'll do it too, even though Rem's going to do it. I'll do it as well.
We have fun. And thank you for coming out to the Stephen Robert Bates Memorial and Overdose Awareness event. It was such a hot day, but it was such a great event that was such a had a major impact on the community and family members. They will never ever forget that event.
That's great.
There were bonds created during that day that are still flourishing today.
Absolutely. I agree. It was an amazing time. So the thing we were just talking about, I don't remember the date. Is it November 11th? You put up there?
Let me see. I'll bring it up. Put it up solo.
Yeah, Sunday, November 11th.
Okay.
At Fort Recovery in Maryland. So if you're in the area, please come out to that. The other thing I want to mention really quick is this just got booked. I'm super excited. The Jam Alker Band hasn't had a show in a while, like a full-on rock band show, and we've got one coming up. We just got booked to play the Cubby Bear in Chicago on Saturday, November 24th. I need as many people out to that one as possible. It's a new club. We haven't played there. It's amazing. It's literally right across the street from Wrigley Field. So the Cubby Bear, amazing venue, great sound. The full band's going to be there. It's going to be great. I need as many people to come out to that as possible. So Chicago family, Indiana family, Ohio family, Wisconsin family, Minnesota family.
No More Heroin family. Come on, let's go.
November 24th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Come out to Chicago, hang out. Higgy might come out and stay in my basement again. So we're going to try to get as many people out as we can for that. So those are the couple things that I got coming up that I'm super excited about.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of great things coming for you. You deserve every bit of it. You put in the work, and it's good. It's awesome to watch the evolution of Jam Alker.
Hey, gifts of recovery, brother. I can't take a lot of credit. I always say it, man. Left to my own devices, I would be dead on the west side of Chicago right now. I have no doubts in my mind. So this is a result of opening up to a power greater than myself, following the suggestions of the people who had what I wanted, doing the work, getting up every day, even when I didn't want to do it, remembering, hey, if I needed a bag of heroin, I would have done anything to get it. I got to be willing to do whatever I have to do to get this recovery thing. Hard work, dedication, opening up to a power greater than myself, and shutting up and doing what the people who had what I want were doing is what has created this, not me. That's the truth.
Clean and sober is better, bro.
Word.
So let's talk about turning your pain into purpose with your music.
Okay.
Playing writing those songs, on those plastic mattresses.
Yep.
Treatment.
Yep.
What was one of the songs that you created during that time of struggle, despair?
So the first one, I was 3 of them that are on the album. The first one was Please. I sat down, still going through that battle inside of me as, why can I not figure this out on my own? Why can't I find the answer? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not strong enough? And I just started writing about that, and I knew that I had to surrender, and I was in the process of going through that surrender, and I had in my head that I wanted the song to end just wailing surrender. And so the song came together from there, where I wanted the majority of the lines to rhyme with the word surrender. So a lot of it comes down to that, please God remember, please God remember. The boy was lost and learned to dig a hole. Holes we fill with poison pills, build mountains we get buried under, surrender. Everything got that kind of sound. So that's kind of how that came together. I wrote that one there, and then Weather the Storm, where I was thinking about the wreckage of my past and what I was going to have to do in terms of amends, and that the people that I loved, that I had hurt, that I was going to have to allow them to be as angry, as spiteful, as distrustful as they needed to be, not just once, but for as long as they needed to be, and that I was never to say, but look how great I'm doing now. I'm in recovery. Everything's fine. Get off my back. No, I did it. I created it, right? I was talking about more than 10 years of horrible active addiction. I got to give that person at least 10 years to start trusting me again. The thing is that never happens. It's always so much quicker, right? So, so Weather the Storm was about the idea of letting that person be the storm, and that I would weather the storm. So that's what happened, and that's how I wrote that song, and that was one of those ones where it just kind of came out, man. That was just like, bleh, okay, this is it. All right, I don't know where these lines are coming from, but I'll just keep writing. And of course, Fixing the Wrong Fix. This was, so I had to do an assignment. My counselor allowed me to do songwriting in some of my treatment work. So she wanted to write about some of my triggers. So how does Fix start? Needles, powder, cigarettes, blood, shame, regrets, people with power on certain streets, corners, soldiers, $100 meats. All of those things were triggers for me. All that stuff they said, the soldiers standing on the corners, that excited me. That was a trigger for me. Right. Going and having $100 meat, to get the stuff, that was a trigger for me. Powder, cigarettes, blood, all of those things, all that stuff, those were things that were like, at the time to me anyway, were triggers. And then I need to talk about the consequences was another assignment, the consequences of my actions. And so that was a lot of what the song was about, was the triggers and then the consequences of my actions. And then, Fixing the Wrong Fix, I was realizing, like I said, chasing after all those things, money, fame, girls, relationships, ego, trying to fix myself, fixing that hole inside of me. I was always trying to fix myself. I'm a smart guy. I'm a successful guy. I can fix this. I can fix other things. I can fix this. But then realizing, sitting there, I've been fixing the wrong fix. I've been going after the wrong things to try to fill that hole inside of me. I was like, I'll fix it. Whoa, fix the wrong fix. That's cool. That could be the name of the song. And then it just kind of blah out. So yeah, those are the three songs that I wrote in treatment that made it on the album. I wrote a few others that were just kind of jokey songs, and one that ended up being something that I was that proud of. I wrote a song that was more of a bluesy song that was a goodbye letter to my DOC, because that was one of the treatment assignments. You had to write a goodbye letter to your drug of choice. So I wrote this blues song. I haven't played it even since then, but it was like, this is my goodbye letter to my DOC, my old best friend and my worst enemy. I love you till I hate you. What was it? Love you till I hate you. I don't remember, but that was another little like blues song that I wrote while I was there that I don't even remember. I haven't played it even since then. So yeah.
Very cool. Let's talk real quick. Let's talk about the recent video with Brian Bach.
Okay.
Amazing. He did such a great job. You both did.
Thanks, man. He's sitting here with me right now.
Ah.
Yeah.
Hi, Brian.
Yeah. He's embarrassed, so I'll leave him be over there. But yeah, it was great. I mean, I had a camera. Brian and I went to this church that I had in my mind that I wanted to film the video at. And I mean, he was just a complete natural, man. It was unbelievable. The work that he did, the way he was able to get the point across without a word, just with his facial expressions. I was incredibly impressed with the work he did. He made that video. I mean, that's all about him.
He felt that. He felt that for sure.
For show.
For show.
Yeah. And now we're working on the Fixing the Wrong Fix video. I actually have a meeting tomorrow at 3:30 with the person who's editing the video. I've seen some of the first versions of part of the video, which is a combination of some stuff that I filmed with the band, which is really crazy, and then the stuff that I filmed with Alexis Johnson, which is super crazy as well. So I've got that. There's going to be some scenes in there with Jonathan and Myra doing some pretty crazy stuff. So it's going to be a very, very provocative, thought-provoking, disturbing video. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to take time because it's got a lot of work still to do, and there's going to be lots of layers of stuff going on. So it'll probably be at least another month before it's out, but it's going to be crazy.
Okay. Would you let me preview it on No More Heroin?
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So would you play a couple songs for us? Is there anything else you want to add?
No, man, I'm good. I think my battery's getting close to dead, so we should probably do a couple songs and be out of here. I was wondering if anybody had a request of any of my songs for the first one. We're going to close it out with Fixing the Wrong Fix, but if you wanted me to play one before that, I was thinking maybe if somebody with this video system, you don't see the comments as quickly, at least on my side. I don't know if you're seeing any on your side.
I'm watching my phone as well as my computer.
All right, so do we have any requests? I mean, people know.
Anybody, you got any requests out there? Let's come on, jam debate. TJ wants LYT, Junkyard, Kathy Sundal, Lick Your Tattoo. Love the microphone too, by the way.
I don't need thanks, man. I don't really even know Lick Your Tattoo. I played it a little bit once. Times I sit for hours talking, thinking we're just friends. When I see that painted body, I cannot pretend. I just sit and smile. You wonder what I think. I just want to touch my tongue against your luscious ink. All I ever want to do is lick your tattoo. All right, said you had a dream, and now that dream crawls up your leg. Do you always follow through on what your dreams have said? Also had a dream, and in my dream I must confess, your dreams were not covered by that flower summer dress. All I ever wanna do is lick your tattoo. Lick your tattoo. All right, That was a quick one. I got 10% battery left. I could probably do another quick one for real and then finish out with fix. So what else do we got? What other real requests do we have?
They wanted to hear Junkyard.
Junkyard. All right. We could do that. Get up.
Hard phone.
Always come to my attention, I'm falling apart. Well, I do believe this body is shot. I know my heart is good, it just isn't the stars. So take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Ow! Get up! Oh, I have this recollection of when I was on top, but I do not rightly recollect that job. Oh, but the ravages of gravity have left their marks. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard. Get up, yow! Get up. Yow, yow, yow. I'll break it down now. Yeah. Oh, my belly aches, my hands shake, my tongue is fake. All right. My teeth crack, my lungs black, my jaw slack. Oh, my skin it crawls, my shoulders fall, my chin is weak, my bones are creaking, my belly aches, my hands are shaking, my tongue is fake. For God's sake, teeth are cracking, my lungs are black, my jaw is slack. So send me back, send me back, send me back, send me back. Ow! Get up! Ow! Oh, well, it's come to my attention, I'm falling apart. Well, I do believe this body is shine. Well, I know my heart's good, it just needs a new start. So take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard and sell me for parts. Take me to the junkyard, yeah. Get up.
Yes, well done, my friend.
All right. Now it's the party up in here. Now it's the party up in here. I got to tune really quick and put on my capo for you, Higgy, for fixing the wrong fix. Un momento.
Thank you for doing this. When I first saw Cam Alker on social media, this you put out just the soundtrack on SoundCloud of Fixing the Wrong Fix, and then it just resonated with me so much. And then I started looking for you more on social media. You were open and honest about your struggles with addiction, and it started out with me shooting you a message. You responded, and we just started opening a dialogue. We met up at an event, and we've supported each other throughout this journey, and it's just a beautiful thing the way recovery and social media can go hand in hand.
No, I totally agree, man. It's just like anything, social media can be used for good or it can be used for bad. And the way we use it, we really try to use it for good, and I think that's a beautiful thing, man. And I've appreciated you and your energy from day one, man. I never bring up to you your relapse. You bring it up every once in a while, but I never bring it up, and I don't even think about it because that's not you. That's not your story, man. That's not
the comeback.
I know you to be a beautiful, loving, caring, giving member of this community who's there to help others. And that's what I love about you. So when you talk about, after your relapse being invited into my home, I'm like, oh yeah, he relapsed. That's right. Whatever. I don't care. The reason why I want you in my home, the reason I want you to be a part of my life is because I know your heart. I know what you're about, man. And that shit can't be faked. Right? All the rest of that stuff, all the rest of that stuff is easily faked. It's easy to find the right words. It's easy to be a con man who has the right words, but your heart eventually shows. And we're seeing that with certain people out there right now. How your heart shows, and eventually, your ass shows as well. And so, I love you, man. From day one when you reached out and we first started talking, I felt your energy ever since then, and I love you, and I'm proud to call you my friend.
Thank you very much.
For sure. All right, let's get the show on the road before the battery dies out. This is Fixing the Wrong Fix. This is for my main man, Higgy. Needles, powder, cigarettes and blood, shame and dress. People with power, certain streets going up, soldiers, $100 meats, yeah. Oh, I said, Jesus, peace, saves gospel purities, and trying to erase it by numb and broken teeth. Yeah. Oh, well, I've been fixing the wrong fix. Well, I'm breaking bones, sticks, and stones keep broken bones from fixing is in my door station. Oh, they preachers, teachers, masters, them self-getting in my head. I won't break my neck. Oh, well, I've been fixing the wrong fix. Well, I'm breaking bones, sticks, and stones keep broken bones from fixing is in myself door station. Yeah. Watching my girl cry, bruises from it now. Lies on flesh and death is consequence. Cause my breath crazy, cannot change. Stop feeling so strange. All these consequences. I start out to know my senses. Oh, grace I've seen the deepest little steps and sanity. Oh, people with the power and base, beats and angels, devils from dust and after me. Oh, I've been fixing the wrong fix. Well, I'm breaking bones, sticks, and stones keep broken bones from fixing it is in myself. Well, I've been fixing the wrong fix. Well, I'm fixing the wrong fix. I keep fixing the wrong fix. Well, I'm fixing the wrong fix.
Yes. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. That was good. That was good.
Some of the words, but it was good. Yeah.
There's two people I would like for you to give shout outs to that are in the comments.
Okay.
The first one is Shannon Francisco.
Love Shannon. Shannon's my girl. I love you to death, Shannon. Mwah! I will fight you. I will fight you and I will win.
She's doing so well in her recovery.
Yes.
And you were instrumental in helping her along her path as well.
Love that girl to death. Love her.
And then you give a shout out to Erin too. She's in here.
Man, Really? Aaron, I love you. You have such a beautiful family. You have such a beautiful soul. I love the work that you're doing. So much of the things you do behind the scenes that aren't credited. They don't get the whoop-de-doo attention like I get. You do. You know, seriously, you know, I get all this attention and all this credit for the shit that I do. It's people like her behind the scenes busting their ass, helping people who have no insurance, who have nothing going for them, busting her ass to find them resources. And so many other people like that who do what she does and don't get the credit for it. Those are my fucking heroes. Those are the people who I am impressed with the shit that they do. I love and have a huge amount of respect for Erin. We give each other shit all the time, but I love that woman to death.
I agree. Well, I agree 1,000%. I totally adore her. There's one more person, a young man named Sam Harvey in the comments. I just met Sam this past week. He was struggling. He reached out, and I connected him on my recovery support group, Redemption Road, and plugged him in on the Survivor Series. He's just commented on how grateful he is that he's able to watch these videos and how great you were. So if you could give a little encouragement to someone just over 30 days in recovery, what would you say?
All right, so Sam, this is just the beginning, man. Life has just begun. 30 days is tough. 60 days is going to be tough. First 6 months, 10 months, 12 months, man, it's going to feel sometimes like your hair is on fire. This shit is hard. If anyone tells you anything other than the fact that it's hard, they're lying. Walk away. This is going to be the hardest thing you will ever do, but I promise you it is worth it. It is hard, but it is worth it. All things that are worthwhile in life are difficult, are challenging. This will be no exception. But if you stay in tune, if you stay plugged in through this community, but also through your local community, if you keep your recovery at the forefront and work hard, the gifts of your recovery will be beyond your wildest fucking dreams.
Absolutely, 100%. He just commented 40 days. So well done, sir. Let's see some hearts up there for Sam. Let's keep on this path together. You know, it is hard. It gets easier as we do it, and just nothing is as hard as staying in addiction and feeling worthless and defeated, right? and living life less than we deserve. You know, this life is made for living. Let's get together and start living.
Get busy living or get busy dying. Woo!
Woo! I love you, my friend. Thank you again.
Hey, Brian wanted me to tell you that he loves you, appreciates you, hopes to see you soon.
I'll be up there. I'll be up there for your show. I promise.
Yes, you heard it here. Awesome.
I may see you in Baltimore as well. I love Baltimore.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, your bed here is ready.
Fantastic.
You're welcome here anytime in my home, my brother. I love you.
Thank you very much. Give Amy a hug and a kiss for me, will you?
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Survivor Series. We're going to end this episode. Thank you, Jam Alker. Please share this out. Jam, when you get a chance, go back and look at this. I think you'll like my production with this.
Can't wait.
All right, buddy. We're gonna peace out, y'all. I'm gonna leave you with this little gem right here. Jam Alker. Peace out, y'all.